Okay, now that you know how to stabilize your food and how to keep that knife nice and sharp, let's talk about the proper grip that you need. So the main grip that I recommend you use is what I call the pinch and curl. And yes, that's yet another reference to a chick flick that I've seen. Like I said, very cultured. So you're going to take your thumb and your forefinger or your pointer finger, and you're going to pinch the blade like so, and then you're going to just wrap those other three fingers around. And this grip gives you a lot of control over the blade, keeps it from wobbling too much. So you're gripping the blade and you're gripping the handle. Now, you want how you hold the knife to be comfortable. This may seem a little odd at first, but you'll probably get used to it. If you don't ever get used to it, maybe you're doing it wrong, or maybe you should try a different grip, or maybe a different knife. Now, let's talk about the motion that you need to do when you're cutting. Typically, the motion that works for most things that I do is this rocking motion here. And this rocking motion does a good job of moving the blade across the food that you're cutting and goes from high to low. Now, what about that other hand you've got? So hopefully you have your knife in your dominant hand. Well, with your non-dominant hand, you should be feeding or at least holding and controlling the food that you're going to be cutting. So you don't want to be holding your hand like this, because as you start chopping, it'll be like one of those horror movies where you wonder if and when it's going to be cut. So a very popular method to protect your hand is something they call the claw. And they call it that because it's pretty much what it looks like. What you're going to do is take your hand and bend back just the tips, and then you will see that the knife will actually rest against those knuckles instead of chopping off one of your fingertips. So once you have that claw, you can grab the food, work on that rocking motion, and just guide the food into the knife, and that knuckle will hit before your fingertips do. As I mentioned, there are some other grips you may want to use. You'll see a graphic on the screen now. Thanks to robotchef.com, it shows some of the different grips that you may use and the pros and cons of each of them. Well, now that you know how to hold your knife and what to do with your other hand, let's get to chop.